Hello and welcome to another Royal Reviewer live channel episode. It is the 9th of December 2020 and we have some great news. Zara Tindall, the Queen's granddaughter, is pregnant. Mike Tindall has announced that they are expecting their third child on his rugby podcast. So we're going to be talking about that. I'll be reading an article and telling you all the details of what we know so far. Also, we will be talking about the Royal Train Tour, which I have been bringing you the full day accounts over the past couple of days. So if you haven't seen the Royal Train Tour highlights, go and check out my previous videos, and then the whole discussion will make a lot more sense. So, I can see people dropping in. As always, this is a live chat, so I will be trying to read as many comments and viewer questions as possible. I can see lots of people saying hello, so hello to you all. Right, I'm going to go straight into it. So, very unexpectedly, we have the great news that, of course, Zara Tindall, the Queen's granddaughter, who is now 39, is pregnant with her third child. The announcement was made by her husband Mike, who of course was a rugby player, and he made the announcement on his podcast. So let's go straight into it. Mike Tindall has announced that his wife Zara is pregnant with their third child. The couple live, of course, on Princess Anne's Gatcombe estate in Gloucester. So Princess Anne was gifted a Gloucestershire private estate. And of course, when I say private, it is not part of the Crown estate. So it's not like, for example, Kensington Palace or Clarence House or anything of that nature. It is the Queen's private estate that has a lot of land and quite a few properties on the estate. And Zara and Mike live on one of the properties on the estate. So they don't actually live in the same house as Princess Anne. So he spoke about it on the podcast he co-hosts, and it's called The Good, the Bad and the Rugby. So if you are interested in rugby and you want to know what they're all talking about, do go and check that out. I haven't actually listened to the podcast, not really my thing, but there you go. He dropped some information on that podcast. He told Alex Payne and James Haskell, two other big sporting names, "It's been a good week for me. Had a little scan last week." There you go. Third Tindall on its way. Now, usually normally couples would announce their pregnancies round about the first trimester. So we believe that Zara is within the first trimester, or literally just kind of past it. So, and obviously we know kind of when the scans first start happening. So it's round about that kind of first scan time. So we're thinking literally kind of 12 weeks pregnant, which kind of puts the birthing expectancy date round about July. So the couple's previous two pregnancies have been formally announced by Buckingham Palace, but this one is very, very different. It's definitely a more casual approach than previously. Mike added that he would like a boy this time. He says, "I've got two girls. I would like a boy. I'll love it though, whether the baby is a boy or a girl, but please be a boy." So make no mistake, Mike Tindall would like a boy. He's got two girls, and I think he would like a boy. There you go. He then joked the couple are considering naming the child to reflect the fact that the baby was conceived during the COVID pandemic. He said, "We're not sure what to do. Covinia, I don't know. I don't know where to go with names," he chuckled. So obviously he's joking. They probably aren't going to name their child after the COVID pandemic. Panny. They could call the baby Panny or Covinia. Covinia sounds very exotic, doesn't it? A Buckingham Palace spokesperson has confirmed the news, saying Her Majesty and the Duke of Edinburgh are aware and are both delighted. The Queen and Prince Philip currently have 8 grandchildren. The baby is the second royal arrival on the way for Zara's cousin. I read that wrong. The baby is the second royal arrival on the way because, of course, Princess Eugene is also expecting her first child next year. So next year, 2021, is going to be a good year for royal baby news. I'm just scooting down the article. I think I've scooted a little bit too far. Here we go. It's just talking about Princess Anne's Gatcombe estate. It's grade 2 listed, and it was bought for Princess Anne and her then husband, Captain Mark Phillips, who is the father of Peter and Zara. And that was in 1977. And of course, Princess Anne retained Gatcombe Park ever since. There we go. I'm just going to kind of scoot through some of it. Right. There is a little bit of kind of sad news as well, tinged in, because of course Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, also spoke about her miscarriage just a few weeks ago now. But in the history of the royal family, Meghan was not the first to speak out about her sad loss. Zara also lost a baby, and she actually opened up about that at the time. Also, Sophie Wessex, the Countess of Wessex, also suffered a miscarriage in 2001. Both have spoken out about it on their own terms. It was actually on Christmas Eve that Zara and husband Mike Tindall shared the sad news a few years ago now that they had gone through a miscarriage. They said at the time, very sadly, Zara and Mike Tindall have lost their baby. At this difficult time, we ask that everyone respects their privacy, a spokeswoman for the couple said at the time. In a later interview, Zara explained that although it had been hard to navigate such a painful experience in full public knowledge, it had actually had a positive impact in starting some important conversations. Afterwards, she said, loads of people wrote to me and Mike to say they'd been through the same thing. Zara said, in our case, it was something that was really rare. It was nature saying, this one's not right for me. The worst bit was that we had to tell everyone. Everyone knew. And in the same interview, she also disclosed that she had suffered a second miscarriage really early on, she said, in another pregnancy, which was never shared with the public. You need to go through a period where you don't talk about it because it's too raw. But as with everything, time's a great healer, she said. Candidly, Zara and Mike Tindall went on to welcome their second daughter, Lena Elizabeth Tindall, in June of 2018. Sophie, as I said before, the Countess of Wessex, who's married to Prince Edward, also suffered baby loss in the form of an ectopic pregnancy. Edward spoke about the trauma while his wife was receiving life-saving surgery treatment in relation to the pregnancy. Speaking in 2001, Edward said, it's obviously a very traumatic time and my wife has been going through. It's quite the most painful thing that anyone can undergo. It's a pretty traumatic experience. As the pain reduces, so the relief will increase. He said, I want to add my thanks to all the medical team who have done a fantastic job and reacted so quickly and have handled things so professionally. And of course, Edward and Sophie went on to have two children, Lady Louise Windsor and James Viscount Severn. So it's probably, hopefully we're gonna see some good news next year. I really do. Right, let's just see what people are saying. Lots of people saying great news, congratulations to Zara. What happy news. H London is thrilled for them. Lauren says, I was having a conversation with a nurse recently about age and pregnancy. You're 30, next with no partner. She told me not to worry, very possible even at 50s. I think early 50s. I think it varies from person to person. I think everyone is not the same. Canetta says, Her Majesty looked beautiful. Yeah, we'll talk about that in a moment. I will save all the Queen comments for a little while. Thank you to Andrew Carter, who has donated 99, I think that might be Australian dollars. Thank you so much. Mason says, is Prince George the oldest great-grandchild? I think he is. I don't think there is another one. No, I don't. I think, or did Peter? Did Peter have? No, I think Peter Phillips did with Isla. No, I think Princess Anne's son, Peter. I think they are the eldest great-grandchildren, I think. Franco, you have to think, because there's so many of them, the family is getting so big. People forget actually how big the royal family has actually kind of become. The descendants of Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip are now very, very numerous. And I would literally have to count them all up to be able to tell you exactly how many descendants, direct descendants, they have. But no, I think that that Peter's children are elder. In fact, I'm pretty certain they are. In fact, I know they are. H. London says, yes, Dave, we'll talk about the Queen in a moment. Lauren says, I do believe that Zara had a still, yeah, she did. I've just spoken about all of those. Right, okay. I'm not talking about grandchildren. I'm talking about, the question was great-grandchildren. And of which there are many now. Right, so let's talk about the Royal Train Tour. So, it was a success, although it was not without its controversy. And I say that because it's almost like a tour of two halves. Where it matters, it was a success. But like I say, it wasn't without its criticism. The criticism, however, did not come from the people who the William and Catherine were meeting. The tour was set up, it was designed to thank key workers, National Health Service workers, people involved, people who kept working through the pandemic. It was to thank them for their selfless determination on behalf of the nation. This was not a glamorous tour. You might think it's glamorous, going on a royal train tour. It was not glamorous. It was not necessarily as high profile as it would have been in a non-COVID time. You know, the outfits were fairly kind of normal, wintry type outfits. Nothing particularly glamorous. The engagements were not publicised ahead of time, so that crowds could not come and gather to be there. Social distancing was observed. Masks were worn when masks were required. People were tested. Bubbles were kept and maintained. So it was a very safe tour. But like I say, it was not without its criticism. But not from the people that they were going to see, and also not from the British people. The British people actually welcomed the tour to thank all the services that carried on working throughout the pandemic. And also it added a well-needed little bit of morale boost. It was a morale boost. Most general British people saw it as a big, massive injection of morale boost. You know, not only has Britain started vaccinating its population, our population, my population, but also it gives a little bit of an injection. So it wasn't without controversy. The people that were criticising it were actually the devolved governments. And of course, if you understand anything about British politics, it's politics. A lot of it is political. It started off with the Scottish First Minister who wants independence and will literally kind of try to do anything to get independence. That's a separate issue, not for this channel. But you know, everything is political, and the devolved governments were kind of not keen on the idea of a royal tour. However, the royal tour was not illegal. It didn't break any rules. It was work. Everything was observed properly and planned in conjunction with the Welsh and the Scottish devolved governments' prior knowledge of it. They didn't try to stop this tour. So if you kind of so yes, it was marred in controversy, but it was still a success. The people on the ground who they met felt that it was very worthwhile. And also, like I say, the British people widely received it very, very positively. So it was a big success. But like I say, I'm not ignoring the fact that there was also controversy as well. The Royal Train. Now, I did make a video on one of the older Royal Train carriages. If you haven't seen it, go to the community page, check it out. This version was created in the 70s. It is not a luxurious train. I think there was some kind of article written about why William and Catherine are not sharing a bed on the royal train. It's because it's a train. It was not built with double beds. There are only kind of single beds in different carriages. So probably I think William would have had a carriage, Catherine would have had a carriage in these kind of single beds. It's not luxurious. All of the interiors were approved by the Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh. They wanted things to be simple, economical. There's lots of kind of plastic baths and plastic this, plastic that. Some of the rooms are quite chintzy. It is of a time. It is of a period. The claret design is highly polished on the outside. It is impeccably maintained. It is an expensive form of transportation, but it is also like I've said before, royals choose transportation based on a lot of things: security, cost, efficiency, all the rest of it. And actually, upon reflection, although when all the reports are out next year, it will probably cost in excess of £100,000 for those few days, but when you think about if they had to stay in hotels, having all the security and the police protecting the hotels, it actually works out to be more cost effective to stay on board the royal train. This is not the first time that Prince William has been on the royal train, but it is the first time that Catherine has been on a tour on the royal train as a couple together. It was a very important big step for William and Catherine. They have definitely been pushed forward in terms of their royal duties. They are stepping up absolutely no end. I think the royal train could do with a little bit of an update now. Like I said, the current carriages were all approved in the 70s. It probably needs a little bit of an update, I think. Don't even get me started on the royal yacht. I would love to see a new royal yacht for Brand Britain going forward. I mean, whether people like Brexit or don't like Brexit, it's happening. And, we need to make the best of whatever situation occurs. And I do think a new royal yacht, being put out there to do trade deals all over the world would be very, very useful at this time. However, it is very expensive to build one and construct one, but I think it would get back money in spades into the country. But that's a completely separate issue. But yes, it was really well received. I loved, first of all, they went to Scotland in Edinburgh, and they had a really good time up there. Then they went down to Cardiff, and they went in Cardiff Castle, I have visited Cardiff Castle many, many years ago, probably round about 2010. Of course, I wasn't vlogging at the time. I probably have some photos somewhere, but I went there. It looks, from the inside of the castle grounds, it looks a little bit Windsor Castle-ish, but it's not. And it's a really lovely place to be, and I can't wait to kind of revisit and retrace William and Catherine's steps. Then they went on and visited a few other different engagements, of course, meeting local people and people that have carried on during the pandemic, keeping all of us safe, and thanking them on behalf of the nation. The tour culminated in, of course, Windsor Castle, and Princess Anne, the Earl and Countess of Wessex, Charles and Camilla, the Queen was all there, and of course the Queen wearing this beautiful red outfit. She walked down steps at her age, unaided, no stick. She was sprightly. She was just absolutely glowing. I actually think this kind of rest that the Queen has been having over the pandemic has really actually probably done her a lot of good. I also really enjoyed last week the Queen doing her audience via video link. I thought that was really, really good. So yeah, how long before we get a hologram of the Queen at Buckingham Palace? I would love that. But yes, I enjoyed the royal train tour absolutely incredibly. It was amazing. I think it was a big success, and it was certainly appreciated by the Queen and the rest of the royal family. I'm going to go up and kind of read a few comments. Let me see if I can pick some out that are about the royal train tour. Will Eugenie's kids have titles? No. They would have done if if Jack Brooksbank had a title himself, then they would have titles. But because he doesn't, they can't inherit one through the female line. So no, they will not. Let's have a look. Oh, Tisha says my hair looks nice. Thank you. Russ, I'm going down. Trying to find comments about the Royal Train Tour. Let's have a look. Lauren says, I think the government has gone a little far with this one. I mean, if they had followed the rules, fair enough. But, well, we are not all about the motorway and the tube. I think it was the best way of doing this tour was on board the Royal Train. It disrupts. Its disruption is less. It costs less to protect. And, of course, it's ideal for forming a kind of bubble, if you like, in these challenging times. Canetta says people are tired of all the talk of Meghan and Harry here in the States, hardly on the cover of magazines now. Yeah, it might be more environmentally friendly not to have convoys, although I don't know. I mean, again, the next time the Royal Train is updated, perhaps, you know, it could be done with even more economical things in mind. I definitely think it's still needed anyway. Lauren says the Queen looked amazing. She did. Corgi Pond says Her Majesty's outfits recently remind me of various things. First, we've got a fabulous ninja queen. Now we've got a fabulous candy cane queen. Well, it's her festive wardrobe. Her outfits do change over the seasons. Angela Kelly, in her book, said that the Queen, that she purposely chooses kind of different seasonal colours, and so we are now very, very much in the Christmas colours period. Jeff says she was radiant. She was indeed. Valerie says, a bit confused. Ooh, I will try and help you. A fuss was made when Meghan and the Queen rode the train because no one had ridden the train except Prince Philip and Her Majesty. No. I have no idea where that fuss came from. Certainly not from me. No, other royals have ridden the train. Charles, Camilla, Diana and Charles back in the day. Lots of royals have used the train, although it's not used very often because of the expense, and logistically sometimes it's better to go by car, sometimes it's better to go by helicopter, sometimes it's best to do it in legs, you know, different steps and stages, but on the odd occasion it is deemed that the royal train is the best way of travelling or doing a UK tour. Tisha says, can the Queen give a courtesy title to Eugenie's baby? If she wanted to, she could. I think the issue is that I don't think a lot of the royals kind of want it these days for their child. So, yes, the Queen could, but probably the best way of doing it would be to give Jack some kind of title. I know that kind of seems a little bit outdated, kind of having to give the man, you know, a title to give a title to the man's child, but that would probably be the best way of doing it. Then, for example, Eugenie could also be, if he was given an earldom, for example, then she could also be the Countess of, very, very much in the same way that Princess Margaret was also the Countess of Snowdon, because her husband was given a title. So, yes, that would probably be the best way of doing it, but there's no indication that the Queen is going to do that yet. Lauren wants the Duchess of York Fergie's biscuits and tea for your collection for birthday. That would be amazing. I would also love to sample Fergie's wares. Valerie says, I thought a man died and left the Queen millions. Yes, someone did leave in their will. I forgot the person's name, but I think they left a decent amount of money to at least get the ball rolling with a new royal yacht. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough to completely fund a new royal yacht. But yes, there was some money left, and I haven't heard anything since about what's happened to that money. I imagine it's just kind of sitting there. The proviso was that the money could only be used for a royal, to construct a royal yacht, or at least, like I said, to get the ball rolling in terms of plans and costings and all the rest of it. So we haven't heard anything since. There's never a good time for a government to discuss a big expense like a ship. And now we've kind of paying back all the money borrowed for COVID and the economy and all the rest of it. So now is probably not the best time, but also it is kind of the time when it's needed because of Brexit. And basically a royal yacht is not just a pleasure ship for the royal family. It's not just a royal family toy. It's also a very, very good diplomatic tool to send off around the world, bringing back business to the UK. Lots of other countries have their own, different aircrafts or ships or that kind of thing. Very, very much in the same way. And I do think that now would be a good time to get one. If ever there was a good time when one was needed, it might be now. But it's always tricky to justify it, to justify the cost, especially after a pandemic when we're paying everything back and all the rest of it. IK says, by the way, I love your reviews. They are really good. Thank you so much. I do try my best. Tisha says, informative. Thanks. You are more than welcome. IK says, do you think William and Catherine will have another baby? I've always thought that they would. I've always kind of had it in my head that they would go for baby number 4. I still think it's possible. So yeah, there's no reason why they couldn't. There's no reason why they shouldn't. I think once William joked that that he was done with 3, but I've just got a feeling. It's not based on anything. My feeling isn't based on any facts or anything that anyone's said or done. I've just got a feeling, and maybe a little bit of hope as well, that they might go for baby number 4. I've just had it in my head that they might try and equal the Queen in terms of children. So it's possible. It is most definitely possible. Never say never. There was obviously a big gap between the Queen's children in terms of the early children, Charles and Anne, and then, of course, Andrew and Edward. There was a big gap. So, yeah, it could still happen one day. Who knows? Never say never. Right, and I think that is all covered for today. Oh, there's a few questions just coming in now. Lauren says, did you ever see the podcast that the Duchess did about when Prince George was born? Oh, I can't remember that one. That was, we're going back a long way now. But no, I can't remember. I probably did at the time, but it was definitely before. That was way before I started doing any YouTube channel or anything of that nature. IK says, do the Queen's children have to curtsy to her? Yes. People think it's very, very strange, and it kind of is, but that scene in this season of The Crown where Princess Diana was struggling to kind of know who to curtsy to, of course we don't know that scene ever actually happened in reality, but it was a good indication of what the royal family do in private. They do curtsy and bow to each other in order of precedence. So, for example, if you've met the Queen, the first time that you meet the Queen of the day, you curtsy or you bow, you call her Her Majesty, and thereafter you don't have, for that day, you don't have to curtsy or bow, but you call her Ma'am, as if you're saying jam, so Ma'am. You address her as Ma'am. So yes, they do. And they do, if there's a big gathering of royals, they would kind of curtsy and bow to each other in order of precedence. It is a little bit odd, but it's perfectly normal to them. The royal family are not normal. And that's just one of the things that they do, out of respect. Lauren says she did it recently with Giovanni. Oh, Giovanni Fletcher. No, I haven't seen that one. I haven't. Of course, Giovanni Fletcher won the I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here in the UK. That's normally in the Australian jungle, but it was in a castle this year in Wales. She did really well on it. And I think from her podcast, she had a lot of mums out there who voted for her. So yes, no, I haven't seen that pod. I haven't listened to it yet. Have I finished The Crown? 2 episodes to go, and I've got one video review to make on an episode that I've watched. So no, I'm still going through it. I'm still savouring the flavour. So yeah, we're still working through it. Right, I think I'm going to go now because it's almost time for me to go food shopping. I know, the glamorous lifestyle must continue. So here we go. If you've enjoyed the video and you've found it useful in any way, shape or form, please give it a big old thumbs up. If you want to leave your congratulations on the baby news of Zara and Mike, then leave a comment below. You never know who's looking or watching or reading, so maybe they might get to see your comments of congratulation. And of course, subscribe to the channel so that you will get notified, hopefully, by YouTube, if it's working, whenever I pop on and do one of my pop-up live chats. So, from me, for today in Shropshire, mwah, to you all, and goodbye.